Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of Pasty-T Gaming, where we are leveling this undead mage, Pasty-T. And as you can see, compared to the opening screen of the previous episode, the character's gear is a little bit different. Obviously, this isn't good gear, but as you can see, every time you equip something, gloves or wristbands or chest piece, then your character's appearance will change, which is really neat. And a lot of the in-game gear looks pretty awesome, especially raiding gear, your tier 2 level dungeon stuff, like all that stuff looks pretty awesome. So you'll see a lot of characters, especially in cities, that look completely decked out, and it's because they are. So we are level 4. We're going to enter back into Trustfall Glades, which is the opening area for undead players, and we're going to continue the quest. So let us get this going. In this episode, we're going to probably have it be a little bit less time, not as much tutorial going on. We don't have to set up our interface, so we can just get right at it. But we are going to pick up our items. So as you can see with Questy, it'll kind of give me an idea. Oh, here's where you have to pick up your scavenged goods. If you hold shift down, it'll tell you where to pick it up from. Equipment boxes. Another run here. Samuel's remains are buried, so we have to go get that from there. The cool thing about Questy is that you can set up your TomTom stuff. So Samuel's grave right here. It's highlighted. Oh, I gotta get his remains. So Pat. So I can open up my thing. Oh, here's where his remains are. So this is the overall world map. As you can see at the top right here, you'll have your cursor coordinate, you'll have your player coordinate, and so if somebody says, oh hey, can you meet me over at 3661, then you know where it's at in comparison to you. So Questy's TomTom coordinates, I mean, for me, I found it to be extremely helpful, especially when you're looking up stuff. There are many websites that help out players as far as what you need. Like if you're having trouble on a quest, then one of the ones that I use is it's not WowWiki. That is one website, but shoot, I can't even remember what I use. But either way, there are a number of websites that you can just basically type in like WoW Classic and then put in the quest that you're on, and it'll tell you what other people have found as far as what's helped them in the quest. Extremely helpful, especially when you're stuck. Sometimes the quest, so like for example, this one basically tells you what to do. Like they want you to find 6 pieces of the scavenged goods and then return it to a guy, and it'll tell you like, oh, this is why we're doing this, and here's your rewards. But some of the quest givers are very cryptic when it comes to telling you exactly what they want or how to get it. And so there are people that want the vanilla experience to be completely unaided, and props to those people, because they are truly getting everything out of the game that they can. For me and other players, that's not necessary in order to enjoy yourself. So I am totally fine with having something tell me like, oh hey, this is probably where you're going to want to go. So as I discussed in the last episode, you can see these enemies right here. They do not aggro to me even if I'm in proximity, because right now I have not caused any threat. But later on, if they have a red text box above them, you'll see that, especially in houses like this, the Plague Lands, Western Plague Lands has many houses that you would walk into where there are enemies that are clustered this close, and basically you walk in, all 3 of these guys are going to come want to fight you. So it gets pretty dicey if you just wander around aimlessly and don't pay attention to your surroundings. So we're going to collect 2 more of these, one more of the scavenged goods, and then we're going to go find Samuel's remains. Here we go. 1 more scavenged good. Collect that. So another reason why auto loot is very important is when you are farming nodes. When you're farming areas where you would want to pick up a an herb or a mining node or something like that, that if you are going through the animation of picking it up and you don't oh, here we go. Samuel flips has Samuel's remains. So I'm gonna back up, give myself maximum distance from him, use Frostbolt, and then see he's slowed down. Here's the debuffs. So as you can see, Frostbolt gives me a couple extra attacks while the mob is running to me. Alright, so we got that. I have Samuel's remains right here. So now I just have to bury that over at the grave. Easy enough. We're gonna go kill these guys over here, the young night web spiders. That way, when we go back to our quest return, we have all the quests ready to turn in, so we can just do all three of those at once. Makes it a lot more simple than having to go back and forth, or as speedrunners call rubber banding. We don't want to do that. Again, I'm not trying to be like the most efficient as possible, but I do find value in not having to run all around. Mages have extremely good versatility when it comes to movement. You get teleportation spells that you can use to bounce all around the world, and they have a spell called Blink that is very, very handy. Basically what that does is that ports you 20 yards in front of your current location. It also breaks you out of binds. So if you were, let's say, thrown into a net or something, or a net was thrown on you, then you could use Blink to get out of that. If you were stunned, you can use Blink to get out of that. So it's pretty helpful. But, as you can see right now, Frostbolt is extremely viable when it comes to attacking enemies and getting multiple attacks in before they get to you. Unfortunately, 25 mana per cast. I don't have 10 casts available, even at max mana, so I'll have to use my staff to finish them off. Not a big deal. Early game, they don't really knock out anything, and your staff skill is pretty good. Later, you will notice that I don't use melee attacks as often, and that's just because as a mage you have extremely low strength and very low agility, and so those two stats are primarily for melee attack. Like you can see right now, these are my attack rating, my power, my damage per second, and very, very low. But for now, just because these enemies only have 55 health, I can get attacked while they hit me, and it's not a big deal. I mean, my health regenerates fast enough to where it's not gonna cause any issues, and since I'm only fighting one guy at a time, they're not a threat. But obviously a mage, casting spells is their primary damage move. Alright, let's see. So what I like to do is anytime I know there's an item that I'm not going to want to keep, I'll usually put it down into the lower right hand corner, just so that visually I know that when I go to a vendor, I can just left click on it, immediately sell it to them, and I don't have to worry about having to make the mental check there to see, oh, did I want to keep this? Oh, see, here we go. So this monster already had the red text above their head, and basically what that shows is that if I were to get within a certain proximity of them, they would automatically come and attack me. So I can show you all that in a little bit, as opposed to these that are yellow. So, not kill this guy. One more hit. So let's go ahead and kill one more of these young night web spiders. Easy mode. Okay, so as you can see, he's already red, so if I get close to him, he automatically attacks me. So while it's not completely dangerous here, because again the grouping of these guys is not very close, and they're not very deadly as far as like if he were to aggro me and I wasn't prepared for it. As you can see, he only knocked out like 20 and the debuff of this poison, which is very, very weak. But in later areas, like mine shafts such as this, it gets extremely dangerous because you'll have 2 or 3 guys that'll decide that they want to attack you at once, and then you'll also have invisible enemies, or you'll have areas to where you can't really escape as easily because the guy that I just killed, will respawn behind me, and so yeah, it can get very dicey. But for right now, it's pretty easy. Obviously, they're teaching you the mechanic of don't get close to the red guys unless you intend to. And for a mage, you don't want to get close because your defense is distance. So right now, it's difficult to see that because I'm just kind of tanking the hits. But for the most part, you do not want to just allow a guy to hit you multiple times. Alright, so this is a treasure chest, and they get progressively more, I guess, sturdy instead of being battered. And basically a treasure chest has a chance to drop decent gear, but for the most part it's going to be food. It'll be sometimes some like materials for herbing or mining. You'll also get some gold in it, or copper, silver, whatever. But people will roll for that. Like if you're in a group right now, most of the time people will be like, oh, let's roll for a chest. And basically what that means is that you roll a proverbial die. And so for example, if you type \roll, you'll see that I rolled 100. So that's pretty amazing for the first roll. That's something that you want to see, especially when it comes to like gear that you really, really, really want. But alright, so as you can see, got some spring water, flimsy chain belt. Oh, I'm completely full. 15 copper, bunch of garbage. I don't need any of that, but it's okay. I could sell it like 1 copper, so not a big deal. But later on, you'll find that rolls are extremely important. Chests in high-level dungeons will oftentimes have pretty decent loot, stuff that you can sell, or stuff that you could, maybe not necessarily find normally. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if there's a higher chance to find high-level items. Oh, yes. Alright, we're going to get rid of the spring water because I don't need it. Bag, yes. Okay, so we got a 6-slot bag. Very, very important. Equip it here. And now I have 6 more slots that I can carry stuff. Super awesome. As you can see, you only have 5 bag slots, so you're still limited. But I believe the biggest bag in the game right now is an 18 slot. And so, 5 times 18 is the amount of bags that you can hold. Was that 90? And so, very, very important to get more bag slots. In the early game, it's extremely important because you only start out with 16. So, now I have 22, which makes a big difference. Basically, the more bag availability you have, the longer you can quest before your bag fills up, because you don't want to have to make a decision of, do I need to keep this? Do I need to throw this away? What if I find a mob and they drop something really good? Later on, you'll end up getting to where mobs, mob is short for like monster, but either way, you'll end up finding that they can drop really good loot. Randomly, it's like an extremely low chance, but you can find a drop where it's like an epic, which is a purple item, and those are the second highest tier of items in the game. The highest is legendary, and there are only there's like 3 legendaries that are available, and those are they don't drop. Like basically, a legendary is something that you have to farm mats for. You have to have a special pattern to make it, and it's extremely, extremely hard to get for characters such as myself that are, completely unassisted, not in a guild, not, able to get high-level characters helping them. But either way, an epic is your basic highest level item that you can get. And so like these right here, these are crap, but your white is your common, and then it goes green is uncommon, blue is rare, and then purple is epic, and then of course orange is legendary. Alright, so we're done with that. So now we're going to walk back to this area, turn it in. We're going to bury Samuel's remains. So I can equip that on my taskbar because I have to use it at the grave. But yeah, this is the basics of questing. A lot of it's fetching items such as the remains here, or killing a certain amount of enemies like these zombies, and then you return to the quest giver and they give you your reward. A lot of times reward is, it's always experience, unless you're the max level, but if it's not experience, then you'll get a piece of gear or an item or some sort of monetary reimbursement. Alright, so that's there.
Speak quickly.
Turn this in. Alright, so your decision is going to be what's going to be the biggest upgrade. So 3 armor upgrade is alright. So I'm going to change that out. Turn in this one.
This had better be.
Again, 2 armor. 5 silver is not a big enough deal. Alright, now he wants me to collect 12 Scarlet armbands.
Trust no one.
So the Scarlet Crusade is a group of humans that are basically for purging the entire world of anything that they deem inappropriate. And while it sounds like it might be a good thing, they're kind of an extremist group, and they want to kill everybody. Like they'll see a character that's a hero, for example, and they will say, "Oh well, we want to purge you out of this too." So because of that, they are the enemies. So you'll find that the Scarlet Crusade is an enemy that we run into more often than not.
Victory for
But they're pretty dangerous. There's a whole set of dungeons revolving around them. There is a lot of elite quests that involve, fighting them or fighting around them, and so they're a reoccurring character, if you will. All right. So that is that. Sold all that stuff. As you can see, I almost have 3 silver, which is extremely low, but again, having more bag space means that you can collect more items to sell, so you effectively get more availability of getting gold, so that's nice. To put it in perspective, at level 40, when you want to get your first mount, get your training, it costs about 100 gold, and gold is very, very hard to come by. I'm level 5, so I'm 1/8 of the way to 40, but I don't even have 1 gold, so it's a little time consuming to get gold. The easiest way to get it is finding an item that you can sell on the auction house. Obviously that's not the I guess that's the fastest way if you find the item. Obviously it's not the most efficient because it's hard to just randomly find a good item, but like I said, herbalism and skinning are the 2 professions that I'm going to pick up on this character, mainly because every bat or every beast character, like this bat or this wolf, they will be able to be skinned, and their skin can be sold to leather workers who will use the skin to make leather items, and so it's just kind of like a trading system. Herbalism, the herbs that you can get are used by alchemists and other professions, but mainly alchemy, in order to make potions, and some of the rare herbs sell pretty well. The mage that I'm leveling on my alliance server is an herbalist and skinner, and you can yield pretty good results from getting higher level herbs. Gold thorn, purple lotus, those are more common, and they sell like 6 gold a stack. So as you can see, 6 gold is extremely helpful when you're trying to get 100, but that's later. There is a black lotus, and that's an extremely rare pickup, and people sell those. A single black lotus for 100 gold. So, kind of the thing to get. The mining equivalent is a rich thorium vein, which has thorium bars. While the bars themselves don't sell extremely high, the arcane crystals that are a rare gem drop from rich thorium vein do sell very well. 65 gold or so. And for these legendary weapons later on, you'll need a lot of those. In fact, Thunder Fury, which is a kind of a meme weapon because everybody likes to link it in chat. That weapon itself requires 100 of those arcane crystals, and so at 65 gold a pop, you know, that's really expensive. You were just gonna buy it all out, which some people do, but other people will farm those mines. And on high population servers, you'll find that the very rare and very like high cost nodes get farmed quite often. Okay, so as you can see right now, I aggroed this guy, but this dude over here decided he wants to fight me too. Actually, both of them do, so I'm gonna run away because that's way more than I can handle right now. So in this instance, as you can see, they're still hitting me. What you would want to do is just run out of their aggro range. So eventually, those guys behind me will stop following me. Hopefully soon. Okay, they stopped. The way that you can tell that you're in combat, the level over here, instead of 5, it'll have 2 swords crossing, and basically what that means is that I am in combat. So if you are in combat, you can't do things like rest, you can't eat or drink, you can't get on your mount if you are not on a mount. Your health and mana regen are at a different level. In combat and out of combat, you have different health and mana regen capabilities. But so all of these Scarlet monsters, mobs, they obviously have an aggro range. I guess that's something I didn't touch on earlier. The aggro range of one character to another. So, for example, if I were to attack this character, this initiate, then this initiate and this other one, the 3 would want to attack me because they all hear the first person being attacked and they're like, "Oh crap, we need to help our buddy and kill this character over here." So you have to be pretty careful when it comes to picking and choosing who you fight. In instances, they call it a pool, because basically what you're doing is that when there's a group of monsters next to each other, and you attack one, it pulls that group towards your team. And so you want to make sure that you pull correctly so that you don't overwhelm, any of your team members. And the way that a team works is like this mage is considered a DPS, and that means damage per second. So the main goal of a mage is to damage the enemy. You'll have characters like druids and warriors and paladins, and they can tank. And basically what that means is that they stand and they collect all the different enemies, and they kind of say like, "Here, attack me, don't attack anybody else," because they have much higher damage mitigation. And so they can, take many more hits before they die than like a mage. And so they try to hold the aggro of all the enemies to them through different ways, but they do that so that the other characters can damage, since the other characters have a higher damage output. And then the last kind of role in a group is a healer, and they do exactly what it sounds like. They just heal all the damage that's being dealt to the different party members. The role of the healer is primarily to keep the tank alive, just because if the tank dies, then the enemies that have been fighting him they just start attacking whoever had the second most amount of aggro, which is why this gauge is important. So as you can see, I'm the only person attacking this character. So I'm the only person that has any sort of aggro threat or whatever associated with attacking the character. But later on, you'll see in dungeons or in groups, you'll have other characters that are also initiating threat. And what they do is the tank wants to have the highest amount of threat because they want the monster to hit them. But obviously, like, if a tank is just whittling away very slowly on an enemy's health, then, you know, a character like a mage who is doing a lot more damage will eventually start overtaking the threat, and the character will want to fight them. So it's a big balance. You'll find characters or players that don't necessarily understand that balance will just unload anything that they can to try to kill the toon, and they'll, you know, pull aggro is what the term is. And when you pull aggro, basically what you do is, instead of the tank having the, you know, the look or the threat, another character will have the threat, and they'll get beat up pretty easily. All right, so we're going to turn that one back in, and then I think we are done with Tristfall Glades. So once we finish that, then we will journey on to the next little quest hub, which I believe is Brill, which is over here. So we'll pick up quests on the way. A lot of them are going to be like, hey, can you drop this off at this location, or can you drop this off at this person, or hey, we didn't see a scout that we should have seen, can you go check on them? And, you know, it's basically just like a point of contact that you're going to go to next to find new quests. So turn this one in, collect my weapon. Right now it's not a big deal. Basically I'm just going to collect what I can, and I can't collect any of these because I don't have the proficiencies for them, but I'll just pick up the one-hand sword for now. Alright, so we are going to turn in my items.
Hello.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and sell this, not a big deal. Sell. Repair.
Farewell.
Alright, level 5, and that will be the end of this video. So please let me know if you want to see more. I'm going to keep leveling this character and then go from there, but thank you all for watching.